my name is Christina Helfrich, and I am presenting information on a group project concerning the correlation between ADHD in childhood and substance use disorder in adulthood. Our group asked the question, is there a connection between childhood ADHD diagnoses and adult substance abuse? According to the Center for Disease Control, 1.6 million American children between the ages of 2 and 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD in 2016. There was a study done with Curatolo, Diagati, and Movero and they determined that children who have been diagnosed with ADHD that were given mood-altering substances to treat their disorder had a higher chance of having a substance use disorder later on in life. In fact, more than half of those children diagnosed ended up having long-term complications and negative effects of the medication they were issued in childhood. So we wanted to know how many of that group of children diagnosed with ADHD would grow up to have a substance use disorder later on in life. We set out to try to discover this by designing a questionnaire, and we thought the questionnaire would provide us with the necessary information to confirm the hypothesis that ADHD diagnosis in childhood may cause substance abuse disorder later on in life. The questions were asked to gauge the likelihood that those suffering from a substance use disorder were connected in some way with those diagnosed with ADHD. We asked questions such as, have you used medications that were not prescribed for you? And have you consumed more alcohol than intended? Have you tried to quit using drugs unsuccessfully? Questions like that gave us an insight as to whether or not the participant actually had a history of substance use. And then we asked questions like, did you use drugs or alcohol to self-medicate? And we thought the answer to that question would indicate that there was a history of use. Did you ever receive an attention deficit diagnosis as a child, and did you ever receive medication for an attention deficit diagnosis as a child? Of course, these were important questions to ask on the questionnaire, so we could see, those that said that they were diagnosed and those that had a substance use disorder came from the same questionnaire. We also asked demographic questions like the person's age, their sex, and their race. I have a graph here representing all of the results from the questionnaire, each person and how many were female and how many were male, which percentage came from college and NA meetings, and the breakdown of information is that there were 67 students from Danville Area Community College that were given the questionnaire, and 29 students from Indiana State University, totaling 96 students. And then the remainder of the questionnaires were filled out by 26 individuals participating in Narcotics Anonymous groups. Of the college students, 69% of them were under the age of 21. This is a closer breakdown of what we found a correlation with. First of all, more men than women were diagnosed with ADHD in our results, which actually coincides with a study done by Bruckmuller, Margraf, and Schneider, that boys were more likely to be diagnosed than girls with ADHD. So out of our total 131 participants, we had 11 cases that were diagnosed with ADHD in childhood. 8 out of those 11 also reported substance use disorders throughout their lifespan, which is 81%. This bar graph shows the demographics breakdown, male, female, Caucasian, and African American. There were limitations to our study, even though we showed a positive correlation between substance use disorder and ADHD. Our demographics were skewed and our population was tiny. First of all, only 20% of the population that we collected information from were persons of color. The rest of them were Caucasian individuals. And we lacked regional diversity since we only issued the questionnaire in Illinois and Indiana to college students and NA groups. Also, the modality of the questionnaire was compromised because we used paper which means that we only sent out to a small number of people. If we'd done this electronically, we could have reached a far greater number of people. And also, on a questionnaire, a lot of times people they don't want to divulge the information, or they may just mark down all no's, so we may not have gotten completely accurate information. We have a couple pie charts here too of the NA participants that shows the different race. There was mostly Caucasian, a little bit African American, and I believe one Asian person that responded. And then we have a breakdown here for the college students' race ethnicity, and again you can see where the majority of them were Caucasian in both cases. So even though our group did find positive correlation, the demographic group was not large enough. Again, though, 81% of the people that we administered the questionnaire to showed a history of substance use disorder, as well as a history of ADHD diagnoses. Thank you.